Good evening, everyone. This is Robert Jamieson. Welcome to our second online chess lesson for term two. I think I've had a couple of technical problems at the my screen may not have appeared to you till a few minutes ago, whereas normally I'm on here from 6 o'clock, which I thought I was on, but you guys weren't showing up, so maybe I wasn't properly connected. But anyway, hopefully we're up and running now. So let's start off with a chat to Maha. You there, Maha, again?
Yes, I am.
All right, so the diagram's up on your screen now. You can see that all fine?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. This was an interesting position from a game up in Sydney, in the Sydney International Open the other day, between Daryl Johansson, who's an Australian Grandmaster, and another gentleman whose name I won't try to pronounce, but he's an overseas Grandmaster, probably about 2580 or something like that, so he's quite a strong player.
It's Livy Dita Nispiano.
Wow. You've been practicing, have you? That was impressive.
I know. I heard his name being pronounced about 1,000,000 times at the WL Cup.
Ah, okay. All right. So you know the gentleman. All right. Now, so let's pretend we're Daryl. So we're white. So how do you reckon Daryl's going? Would you prefer to be white or prefer to be black?
More of white. He's got the more active pieces, and he's got a slight attack on the king.
All right. Let's see what the others think. So the rest of you guys, type in the question box whether you prefer white or black. If you had the choice, it's white's move in this position. So type whether you'd rather be white or whether you'd rather be black. Rachel wants to be white. We're waiting on Cadence and Yaifu. Maybe they're still thinking. All right. So, well, white's a pawn ahead. That's the first thing, isn't it? So, if everything else was equal, you'd want to be a pawn ahead, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay. So, any other reason you'd prefer to be white?
Well, his king doesn't look all that safe.
The black king or the white king?
Black king and the white kings can always go to H2.
All right. So, you reckon king safety, black's king might be in a bit of trouble. Material, black's down. Space, is there any advantage in space?
I don't think neither side has much advantage. The center's blown up for white and the queen side's all black.
Yeah, space doesn't really come in. Now, what about time? Is anyone ahead on development?
Not exactly.
No, probably not. So it's only material and maybe king safety that we need to think about. All right. So that's our overview. All right, Maha. So it's white's turn to move. What move do you think you would make? Everyone else, you can have a go too. So type in the question box what move you reckon you would make for white. Have you had a chance to work out a move, Maha, or you're still thinking?
I'm still thinking, but I think I've nearly got it.
Okay. If you like, you can tell me what move you're looking at, before, even if you haven't decided.
B4, trying to swing the rook into the king side.
Okay. Looks like a sneaky move. Cadence wants to play queen to e6. Not quite sure why. Anyone else want to have a go? Come on, white to play. What move would you make? Have you decided, Maha, or are you still thinking?
Still thinking. I'm choosing between B4 and F5.
Okay, they're the only two moves worth looking at?
Probably yes.
Okay. All right, so we need a decision. Which one are you going to play?
I think F5 looks pretty good.
All right, so you want to play f5 because that's like an attacking move or something. Is that the idea?
Yes, trying to get a small attack to win pieces.
All right. So that appealed to you because you analysed it out, like he takes, you take, he takes, you take, and you're happy with that, or you just did that because you thought
Yes.
you should be attacking?
I did that because I figured out that you'd get an attack on the king and you'd get some sort of small piece material, some small material.
The king a bit and all that sort of stuff. Okay.
For
So
the worst case, you
very
get some
reasonable
material.
move. All right. Now it's not the move that Johansson played. I'll show you the move he played. He actually played rook to d1. Now, what do you think of that move?
I think it's going the wrong way.
Now, but hang on, he's got a threat. So he's got a double attack on that knight. So what do you think would happen?
Well, you can always play knight takes pawn.
All right, and then Daryl can play queen takes e7. So that's exactly what happened. So Daryl went rook d1. The Grandmaster played knight takes f4, and Daryl played queen takes e7. So now he's undermined the support for that d6 pawn, which is attacked 3 times, defended nothing. So does this look good, or this isn't so good, or what do you think?
Not that great for black, but white is kind of starting to lose, kind of dropping on time, just the material.
Okay, well, white has to be careful because black does have a little threat in that. Whoops, hang on. I'm using the wrong colour. Start again. I want an arrow. All right. Black does have the threat queen takes g2 checkmate. So has to be careful with black's. So black's replies
as long as that one's defended, it should be fine for white to go ahead, win some material, and win the game.
All right. So
as long as that threat's defended.
So white now has to defend g2. So his move's pretty much forced. He played queen g5. All right. So you're still happy with this? You've got a double attack with the knight on d6.
Not bad for either side.
Okay. Black's go. What do you think black might have played here, Maha?
Knight e2 check.
Okay, no. All right, now this is the point of this lesson. The secret to being a good chess player is coordinating your pieces, getting your pieces out all together, getting more attackers than defenders, and sort of overwhelming your opponent with attacking pieces. So in this position, black said, I don't care about that pawn on d6. I'm just going to activate my pieces, and I'm playing rook e8 because that rook wasn't helping on c8. So that's getting the rook into the game. Now, what would happen, do you think, if Daryl played knight takes d6, forking the 2 rooks? Would black have a good reply?
What about queen?
No, look where black's trying to get his attack going.
Rook e2 should be smashing.
Rook e2. Now we've got a triple attack on this g pawn. And that looks pretty strong. So, Daryl didn't do that. He dropped his rook back to defend. And the other guy played rook e5. So now he's activated that rook. And he's attacking Daryl's queen. The queen drops back to g4. And now he played a sneaky move, rook e4. So now he's threatening a discovered check with the rook then attacking the queen. So Daryl went king h2. All right, what do you think, Maha? Are you happy with how this is going or not happy for white?
Well, black does have a smashing attack, but white's got compensation of 1 pawn. But I don't think that's enough compensation.
So you think black's winning now?
Yeah, it's getting back to equal. Maybe black's slightly better, but I wouldn't say winning.
Yeah, okay, well, let's have a look, see what he does. He does knight e2, so again the rook is attacking the queen. And the poor old queen hasn't got many squares to go to. So it goes to g5. So black brings in the other rook to annoy the queen. So the queen has to go all the way back to d2. What do you think black should do now, Maha? Think about getting all your pieces in the attack. At the moment, he's got 2 rooks and a knight, but his best piece isn't in the attack.
Queen h8.
Queen h8, almost, but not quite. That's probably a bit slow. d5.
Queen f8.
d5, so that means that black can play queen b8 check and sneak the queen in that way. So Darryl went queen d3, queen b8 check, king has to go in the corner, and then look at this move, queen e5, a lovely centralizing move, putting the queen on a really good square in the middle of the board. So now have a look on the king side. Black's got 2 rooks, a queen, and a knight, and poor old white, he's only got his king. So even though Darryl's still a pawn ahead, he's getting smashed on the king side. He's in all sorts of trouble. And in fact, we're probably threatening, I think, knight check and then maybe rook down to the 8th or something. So Darryl defended his first rank. And the Grandmaster played rook e3. And poor old Darryl resigned. Why did he resign? Let's say Darryl could play queen d2. Why do you reckon he resigned, Maha?
Well, black's got a really strong attack. There's almost no defense.
How could he finish off the attack? Look at all checks and captures.
Knight to g3 should be smashing.
I think a better one. What about rook takes h3, pawn takes, and then rook f2? I think that's probably the best one. And then it's going to be, oops, sorry, wrong colour again. I'll get the hang of this soon. Threatening queen h2, checkmate. It's pretty hard to get out of. Right, so let's just recap what happened. So let's go back to the start. So here, Maha, we said white's better. He's a pawn ahead. And you even thought white might be attacking. But we make about 10 moves and he loses horribly. So
I think it's because white played the wrong moves.
So what did he do wrong? See if you can explain it to me.
I think it was too slow giving up his time and tempo, and he started giving up some of his kingside attackers or defenders, and he was trying to cast an attack on the king side, and so we brought all the pieces to your opponent's side.
Yeah, okay.
And
well, I'll tell you what I think.
So he didn't realize
I think he was working out his moves by analysing, which is a lot of what juniors do. It's their turn to move. They just start analysing. They say, what can I attack? What can I threaten? So in this position, Darryl said, what can I attack? Now, Maha, you wanted to play pawn to f5. That was going to be your attack. Darryl decided he wanted to attack the knight. But the message I want to get across today is there's another way of choosing your moves, and something you should be thinking about in any case. You should be looking at the big picture as well, like whether you've got a plan, whether your plan is to play on the queen side or make your king safe, or in general, what's happening in this position. Now, if you look at this position again, what do you think Darryl's problem is? What's his main problem in this position? He's a pawn up. Maha, what do you reckon?
He might as well be a pawn up, so he'd try to swap pieces and get into an endgame.
I don't think so. I think the problem is he's got this knight on the queen side out of play from the king side, and this rook on a3 is out of play as well. And if the queens are off, that rook would be a good spot behind the passed pawn. But those two pieces, given we're a middle game and black's perhaps going to get a kingside attack, are totally out of play. So were it me, in the big picture, I think I would just play rook a2. Black's not threatening anything. The next move I can play rook d2 if I want for a similar thing, or rook f2, and I'm just a solid pawn ahead. But now all my pieces are working, as opposed to what happened in the game where black got his pieces working. Right, you can understand that, Maha?
Yep.
Yep. All right, excellent. So let's move on and find the game I want to show you guys today. Choose this one here. All right. Well, I'll give someone else a go. So thanks for your help, Maha. Let's try Liam. Can you hear me, Liam?
Hi.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good.
All right, can you help me get started with this game we're going to have a look at today? You can do the first few moves for me?
Okay.
All right, so this is another game. I think it was the Sydney International Open, and White is a Grand Master. If I had Maha here, I'd get her to pronounce the name, Vajda Levente or something, or Levente Vajda, rather. And he's playing Dusan Stojic, who's a Victorian player who I think is about 2,100 or something like that. So he's quite a reasonable player. So what I'm going to do, it's a fairly short game. So we'll get started and then we'll try and work out a plan. See what our plan should be. So it starts off e4, c5, Sicilian defence. Do you play Sicilian at all, Liam?
No, not really.
Okay, all right, so you probably don't know this opening terribly well. Now, White plays c3. This is called the Alapin variation. I used to play this myself. This is my favourite variation. And Black decides, because my idea is obviously to get the 2 pawns side by side in the centre. And if he takes me with the c pawn, I can take back with the other c pawn. So I'll still end up with the 2 pawns. Black moves the knight out to attack the e pawn. So what do you reckon White should do here, Liam?
Maybe he could bring out his bishop or play d3.
Okay, he could defend, but he doesn't do that. He goes forwards. Now, why would that perhaps be better than d3? What am I
Because
gaining?
you get more space and
Yes,
you're
yes, we're
attacking.
gaining space and we're forcing that naughty knight to move again. So it's like free space. So that's a good move. But he puts his knight in the centre. White then plays d4 and black takes. Now White does a little sneaky thing here. You should take, or you'd expect taking back as the normal move, but White plays knight f3. The point being the pawn's not going anywhere because you can't take because we then take the knight. So it doesn't make any difference, but it's just a little trick. Black brings out the other knight. Now we take. All right, how do you reckon White's going so far?
I think he's going well
Why?
because he has way more space
Yes.
and he's a bit behind on development, but
Yeah, Black's
got
one move
to
ahead on time, but White's like 2 or 3 moves ahead on space. So
yeah.
you'd say White's probably going fairly well. All right, Black plays d6 to get his queenside bishop out. We play bishop c4 to annoy that knight. And the knight gets protected. So that's okay, though it does block in the bishop. That's the only minor drawback. What do we do now? What do you think you should play for White?
Maybe you could play maybe you could develop
What would you develop?
your bishop, maybe?
Your queenside bishop. Is there a good
Yeah.
spot to put it though? Can't really go there or there. G5. No. I think he just castles. Yes, he just castles from memory. So that gets his king nice and safe. So we'll preserve our options about where we're going to put the pieces. We'll see what Black's up to. Black plays bishop e7, so he's getting ready to castle as well. So now he's stopped you putting your bishop to e5. All right, everyone, let's have a go. White's move. What move do you reckon White should play here? Type it in on the question box. Should he develop his knight, his bishop, his queen, his rook? Move a pawn? What would be the thing for White to do here? Not getting many goes. Come on, type something for me. White's next move. Sam's going knight c3. That looks pretty logical. Cadence is going knight c3 as well. Liam, what do you like? Everyone's going knight c3. Do you like that, or do you like something different?
It looks pretty good, but maybe queen a4 to start eyeing up the king.
Queen a4, but his king's going to castle on the other side. So queen a4, you'd end up with the queen on the wrong side. All right, now this is a little bit sneaky. Knight c3 looks like the logical move, but the trouble with that, black could go takes, takes, takes on e5, and when we take back with the pawn, maybe black can swap the queens. Why would that perhaps not be what White wants? What sort of game do you think White wants?
Because he's an attacking game.
Yeah, he probably wants to play an attacking game, so he wants to keep his queen on. All right, so knight c3, the normal move, but you have to be a little bit careful. Instead, queen e2. So we get our queen out of the way first. All right, black does castles. Now we go knight c3. So that's all fine and dandy now because he can't swap the queens. So if you were black, what would you do here? White's got a double attack on your knight on d5. What would you like to do?
Maybe you could swap some center pawns to protect the knight again with your queen.
Okay. You've got to be a little bit careful because I might play rook d1 and pin the knight. So I think black actually went for the swap straight away. All right. And then he went another swap. Swapped on e5. All right. So this is the critical position that I want you guys to have a think about. So we've played a dozen moves. If you knew this opening, they're probably all book moves because the grandmasters and that they know 10 or 12 moves from memory for most of the variations. So the question is, what sort of plan should White be doing in this position, and what sort of plan should Black be doing? I'll give you 10 seconds to have a little think about it, and then I'll ask a couple of you what you think. So imagine you were White. What would be your plan in this position? By plan, I don't mean a move. I mean, like, would you be playing on the king side, in the centre, on the queen side? Would you be attacking, defending, trying to play safe, trying to play tactically, swapping off for an end game? There's lots of different sort of plans. So, Liam,
I think maybe attacking on the king side.
All right, explain to me why that's a good plan. What made you think
Because, as we said before, you want an attacking game. So.
Okay, but we've got to do what's based on the position. I mightn't have an attacking position, but I might want to attack, but then I shouldn't really. It depends on what's on the board. So is this an attacking sort of position for White?
Not really yet, but you could make it one.
Yeah, so why would we think, hey, this might be a good position where I could get an attacker? What's happening on the board that makes you think, hey, I might have a good attack?
You've got more space.
Yes, no, let's stop for a second. So that's the key point. So you've got this pawn on e5. So really, you've got all this space on the king side, whereas poor old black, he's only got a pawn on e6. So he's only got a little bit of space. So white has more space. So that would make you think, maybe I can attack on the king side, because what does space do for you? If you've got the more space, what can you do that the other guy can't?
Push your pieces up forward.
Yes, you can move your pieces. Say your pieces on the queen side. It's easier to move them to the king side for your attack if you've got more space. If you haven't got space, you're probably cramped. And like, imagine how could black get that bishop on c8 in to help defend his king side? It's going to take him ages and ages. All right. So that's your plan for white. Now let's swap around. Let's say you were black. Let's just ask someone else. So stay there, Liam. I'll ask Timmy. You there, Tim?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Can you help me with black? If you were black, what do you think your plan would be? We reckon white's going to attack on the king side. So what do you reckon black's plan might be?
To defend.
Yes. Is there anywhere where black has an advantage and he's got a bit of play, or is there any weakness he can play against?
His queen has an open file.
Yep.
Um.
But it can't really do anything on that open file because all the squares are covered.
Yeah. And
so which side of the board do you reckon black will be playing on? The king side, the queen side, or the centre?
probably
Queen side, king side, or centre? What do you think?
center.
Centre. Okay. All right. We'll go back to Liam and see what he thinks. So Liam, do you agree with Timmy that black should be playing in the centre, or where would you be playing?
I think so. I think the centre's a good spot to attack.
Okay. Anywhere in particular? Is there any weakness in particular, or square or spot you'd be focusing on?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think I agree. I think black should be playing on the queen side. So we said white's attacking on the king side because he's got more space. Now, if you look at black's pawn chain, he's only got one little chain there. It's sort of pointing towards the queen side. So that's the first hint. You look where your pawn chain's pointing. But the second point is white has a weakness. White has this isolated pawn on c3. So it's an isolated pawn on a half-open file. So, for instance, if the queens and a few other pieces were off, if we're in an endgame, white would probably have to be defending that pawn. So blacks should be playing against those queenside weaknesses, that pawn, and using more space on the queen side. Okay. All right, let's see now. So it's black's go. So if I've given you that hint, what do you reckon black's next move might be?
He might develop his queen to a5 to start attacking the c3 pawn.
Yep, exactly right. So the queen's gone to a5, so it's attacking the c3, and also he's still got double attack on e5, so I've got to keep my queen and knight defending that. All right, very good. I'll give someone else a go now, so thanks for your help, Liam. All right, let's go down to Sam. You there, Sam?
Yeah.
All right, you can help us with the next few moves. So we've worked out that white wants to attack on the king side and black wants to attack on the queen side. So we'll have to see who gets there first. So black's now attacking the pawn on c3. So what move do you reckon white should play next?
I'm thinking of bishop b2.
Okay, I think you're close. Bishop b2 defends the pawn, but the trouble is how's that bishop going to help me with my kingside attack? Because that pawn's blocking his diagonal. He can't really do much. So the Grandmaster instead chose to go bishop d2. Okay, so we're pretty close. Now, so it's white's go. No, sorry, it's black's go. Black decides to put a rook on d8, so he's grabbing that open file. Now, let's see if people have got the hang of it. We'll all have a go. White's next go. What move do you reckon white should play here? So he's connected his rooks. He's got his 4 pieces out. He's got more space. Should he start attacking now, or should he develop his rooks or move his pawns? What move do you reckon white should do here? So type it in the question box when you worked out what move you think would be a good move. Everyone's thinking hard. So Derek likes bishop to d3. What are you thinking, Sam? What's your preference at the moment?
I'm thinking bishop to b3.
Bishop to b3, and what's your idea there?
Because my bishop wanna go to c2, but if I go to d3 then c2, the d3 is actually the motorway. It's open to the rook.
Okay, so
And if my queen moves somewhere, for example, like d1, the bishop is just going to drop.
okay, all right. Well, no one's got the correct move. So this is the first example that we need to think about. That if you want to attack, it's a question of building up. We have to get all our pieces working in the attack so that we can overwhelm the opponent. So at the moment, we've only got 4 pieces out, and black's got 4 pieces out. So the move white chose is rook e1. So that's getting the rook into the game a bit, and the rook is helping to defend this e5 pawn. So maybe if the queen or the knight wants to move away, the pawn won't be undefended. So that's quite a good move, rook e1. Let's see what black does. Bishop d7. Well, that doesn't scare us. The poor old bishop's in a bit of a bad spot. It hasn't really got any good places to go. All right. What would you do now, Sam? Would you go back and do your same plan or do something different? What are you thinking about?
I'm still struggling between bishop to b3 and rook to c1.
Okay. All right. Well, to help ourselves, let's have a think about where we are going to attack. Because not only do we have to get our pieces out, we have to work out where his weakness is. So I want everyone to tell me, what is black's biggest weakness? What square is the one we're most likely to be getting a good attack on? So type in the question box, what do you reckon is black's biggest weakness, where we're going to focus our attack? So Derek's suggesting h7. Cadence likes h7. What do you think, Sam? What are you focusing on?
I'm focusing actually on f7.
So you're thinking f7. Okay, why did you choose f7?
Because at the beginning of the game, the f7 is the weakest square, and after you castle, the rook is basically helping protect the f7 square. And the knight, usually you can see a knight on f6, which is also blocking the f file.
Okay.
But right now the knight has moved away, and so the rook. So now it's still the only king who is actually protecting the f7 square.
All right. Well, f7 is only defended by the king. That's true. But if black really wanted to defend f7, I think he'd just play bishop e8. So the weakest square is, I agree with Derek and Cadence, I think it's h7. because that's right in the corner, only defended by the king. And you've got to think, well, how is black going to defend that? He can't get his knight. Whoops, hang on, wrong colours again. He can't get his knight back to f8 or f6 to defend it. So that's really pretty weak. All right, so now we've got the idea that we're going to attack on the king side. That's our general plan. We've worked out the weakest square. So the question is, how do we go about it? So what do you reckon, Sam? What's your move?
Bishop to b3.
Correct. Bishop b3. And your idea, of course, is the bishop's not staying on b3. Where is it going?
It's going to c2.
It's going to c2. And then it'll be on the diagonal attacking that weak pawn. All right, very good. So black sees this coming and he moves the pawn forward one square. So that's good because we've made him sort of slightly weaken his pawn structure. So if we have to do a sacrifice, he hasn't got the 3 pawns all lined up and they can move out of a potential sacrifice. He's now got a pawn more exposed. So that helps us. Okay. Our follow-up. Let me see. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Wait a minute. Our follow-up move. Queen e4. What do you think of that move?
That is pretty good.
All right.
Because it's basically building up.
Yes. So it's now got the threat that the bishop's going to come behind the queen, and then queen h7, and we're in like Flynn. So how's he going to defend against that? And apart from that, our queen is on a really great square in the middle of the board. It can't really be kicked away from there. So it's putting him under pressure all over the place. We're trying to put our pieces on good squares. So that's a great move. Let's see what black does. Drops the bishop back to f8. That's okay. All right, so what's your next move, Sam? It's a pretty obvious move.
Bishop to c2.
Bishop c2, very good. So now we've got our pieces lined up, and he has to play g6. All right, I'll move on and give someone else a go. So thanks for your help with that, Sam. Let's try Derek. You there, Derek?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you reckon White's going so far?
He has a few weaknesses on the queen side, but he might get a big attack.
Yes, so he's trying to attack on the king's side. So he's got all his pieces out except for the queen rook. That's not helping yet, but the other pieces are potentially helping. And he's created weaknesses in black's camp because black's had to move the g pawn forward and the h pawn forward. And poor old black, he's only got one defender, that lonely bishop at the moment. So things are looking pretty good. Now, if black was able to swap off, say get the queens off the board, he'd be closer to an endgame and we'd have to start worrying about our queenside pawns. So black would be better if he can certainly get the queens off, but we'll stop that for the moment. So it's looking pretty good. Bishop c2, so let's see what black does. Oh no, what white does, sorry. What did black do? Oh, I did g6, all right. So now our next move, queen h4. Can you explain that one to me? What do you think he's up to? Sorry, say again?
6.
Is your mic working or not? Yeah, I think Derek's mic's died on me. Try Liam. You there, Liam?
Yep.
Okay, queen h4. Are you happy with that move? What's that move doing?
I think it's threatening h6.
Yep, and what else is it doing to help our attack?
Getting the queen further along onto the king side.
Yes, bringing the queen. Now, if we're going to do any damage, the queen's probably the piece that's going to do the damage. So we're getting our queen closer to the black king. So that's really good. So how should black defend that pawn? What does he have to do you think?
He has to get a piece across, or maybe move his king.
Okay, well, because we've got a double attack on that H pawn. So how's he going to get out of that? What should he do?
He could. It would probably ruin his structure, but he could push it.
Yes, I think he has to push it. I think moving the king up is going to be a bit too dangerous. We might have knight g5 check in some lines. So, for instance, if he moved the king up, just having a quick look now, he might have knight g5 check, king back, and we could take on f7, because if his king takes out, queen goes into f6, and that's looking really horrible. So I think he has to move the pawn forward. Yep. All right. So you're happy that his pawns move forward, or is that a good defense for him?
I'm happy because he's kind of breaking up his king structure.
Yeah, he's making
And
it
now,
it's easier for us to attack, isn't it? Because the pawn's not back on h7,
yeah,
it's on h5.
and you can just
Yeah.
go on the black squares and come in.
Yeah, it's looking real easy to attack. So that's good. Okay. So what attacking move shall we make? Let's have a go, guys. White to play. We've created more weaknesses. What's our next attacking move? How can we build up our pieces towards his king? So type in the question box what move you reckon white should play here. Think about moving your pieces over to the king side. Like we've got our queen over there, and we get some other pieces over there as well. Perhaps occupying holes or good squares. Maha's having a look at knight g5. Have to be careful, Maha, because that would leave your e pawn unprotected. Sam's looking at queen f6, but I think he'd play bishop g7 and chase our queen away. Liam, you got any ideas? Timmy's come up.
Maybe try and bring your rook in. So rook e4 or something.
Okay, well, Tim's the one who's come up with the right idea. So it's h5 created a weakness that wasn't there before. So let's go bishop g5, seeing he's now given us that square. So we're annoying his rook and chasing his rook away. So black moves his rook away. So we're making progress there. Let's see, what can we do now? So, now hang on, we've got to be careful here because black's got attack on our c pawn because our bishop moved away. So whether we need to stop and defend that or whether we can keep attacking. What do you think, Liam? Any move sort of spring to mind that can keep attacking, or do we defend the pawn?
Well, you could do what I said and move the rook in, and then you can just move the other rook
So
if they do take
which particular rook move?
Maybe rook e4.
E4 or E3?
Yeah.
E3. That's the move he chose. So this is a dual purpose move, so that defends the pawn, but it also gets the rook in the attack. So maybe later the rook might swing across or something and help out with the attack. So that's a really good move. Black plays queen a3. So he's probably trying to come into b2, I'm thinking. All right, Liam. Are we ready to attack now, or do we still need to keep building up, or what should we do?
I think we're ready to attack.
Are we? All right, so what attacking move would you make?
Maybe you could play bishop f6.
Right, possibly. Now the trouble is, as I say, he's threatening queen b2, attacking our rook and bishop. And the rook then can't go to c1 to defend because it wouldn't be protected. So let's not risk everything on a total attack, losing material on the queen side. Let's do just a nice safe thing, and we'll bring our rook to the d file first. So now we're hitting his bishop on d7. So his bishop has to run away. So we've got rid of that bishop, so that's good. And now queen b2 isn't such a worry. So I think we're ready to attack now. So let's have a look at it. We've got attacking queen, attacking bishop, attacking knight, attacking rook, not attacking bishop, and the other rook's in a good spot, though it's probably not directly attacking. So we've got 5 attackers, and he's got maybe 2 defenders. So odds are we're going to win, but he's trying to set up a blockade. He's trying to have a pawn barricade, like that's his castle wall. We have to break that down if we're going to get at him. Right, so everyone, crucial move here. White to play. Type in the question box what move you'd like white to play. Derek's got the right move. Think about how we can break down that defence. Maha's going a sacrifice. Bishop takes g6. I think you just take back. I'm not sure that's helping us too much, Maha. Anyone else want to have a go? What do you think, Liam? Have you... Rachel's going... Oh, sorry, Tim's going queen f4. I'm not sure that's adding to the attack. All right, Liam, you tell everyone. What's the good attacking move to break up Black's defence? Hayden's is trying bishop e4. Maha's trying bishop f6. Come on, Liam, any idea?
No, not really.
All right, it's a pretty standard thing. So we've got to think this pawn on h5, that's the thing blocking us up. If that wasn't there, maybe we could move the knight, swing the rook across to the h file, get in. So the killer move, pawn to g4.
G4?
Pawn to g4. Good move. All right. So Black says, all right, I'm in a bit of trouble here. I'll see if I can distract White. So he takes the a pawn. So he's now attacking our bishop. So do we keep attacking or save the bishop? What do you think?
I think we should keep attacking.
Okay, and what move would you do to keep attacking?
Maybe take the pawn.
So you'd take the pawn. All right, the trouble is he takes our bishop, and not only have we lost a good attacker, but the queen is now coming back to defend that g6 pawn. So he's got an extra defender. So that would be a little bit of a problem. So let's just go back. I'll give someone else a go. So thanks for your help, Liam. Let's try Cadence. You there, Cadence?
Yep.
All right. So Liam wanted to take on g5, on h5 and lose his bishop. What do you think? What's your choice?
I think I'll go to bishop d3.
Bishop to d3. So that saves the bishop. Now, is that the best square for the bishop? Or is there an even better square? It's pretty good. But what he does, bishop e4. So now that bishop's defending the knight, putting pressure on c6. All right, so White says, I'm not fussed. I don't want to lose my bishop. I don't want to take any risk of being a piece down, and maybe he gets a defense, because my attack's still pretty strong. All right, Black now goes back and attacks the rook on d1. So what would you do about that, Cadence? Would you keep attacking, defend the rook, move the rook?
I think I'll keep attacking.
You're going to keep attacking. I'm going to take your rook with check.
Then the rook can move to e1.
Okay, so let's say you take my pawn. You're giving me a free rook, and then you're going to put the rook back. Now, you better hope you have a totally winning attack, because you're going to be a rook down. I'm thinking it could be a bit risky. I may even play queen takes rook, give up my queen for 2 rooks and try and get a defence going. Yeah, I don't think we need to take any risks. So what white actually did, he just played rook e1. So now let's stop for a second, because this is just like in the Johansson game. So have a look on the king side. Who is winning on the king side? White's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. White's got 6 pieces. Black's only got 2. Now white is getting slaughtered on the queen side. He's only got 1 pawn there. But who cares? Black's king is on the king side. And white's pieces, they're all protecting each other. Everything's rosy. And black can't get his men back to defend. So it's pretty hopeless. Let's see what happens. So black takes on g4. Now, we're going to take back, or has he got some other move you can do, Cadence, that might finish him off? What do you think? Have a look at threatening. Yep. Derek's got the right move. Any idea?
Bishop h6.
And what does that threaten? Whoops, hang on.
It threatens the bishop.
Yeah, it's not a real good threat. Can you show me a better threat? We need a really big threat. We don't want to waste time taking the pawn back if we can help it. Timmy wants to take back, but Derek's got the good move. Liam's got the good move. Have a look around Black's king. How can we threaten to checkmate him?
Bishop f6.
Yes, exactly right. Bishop f6. So now we're threatening queen h8 checkmate. So we've only really got 1 move to stop that. Bishop g7. All right, so we can still take the pawn back now if we wanted to, but we might have a better move. So what could we do now? Have a look at some other threats. Have a look at where we said we were going to attack. What was his weakest point? Derek's got the right move. Come on, Cadence, look at attacking move. Sam's got it. Liam's got it. What move can white do here to threaten checkmate again? Missing it? Tim's got it. All right. Knight g5, moving forwards. So we're threatening queen h7, and then queen takes bishop. And in fact, black resigned here. His position is totally hopeless. He can't defend that bishop. And if he takes, that doesn't really help either, because we've still got queen h7, queen g7, or queen h8. Total checkmate. Okay, so let's just go back. So the main point of today's lesson, both from the example at the start and from this, is I want you guys to look at the big picture, think about your pieces and where you should be playing. So Daryl didn't realise he had a rook and a knight out of play, and he went on the attack straight away, but he didn't have enough men in the attack. Whereas in the game today, white wasn't in a great rush. He just moved all his pieces over to the king side where he had more space, created weaknesses, then he attacked, and he had a really nice win in about 25 moves against quite a strong player. So that's the secret of chess, building up, putting your pieces on good squares. So I hope you all take that in and can apply that in your own games. That's the end of the lesson for today, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks all, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.